Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Asheville Vedic Astrology YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ryan's Vedic Astrology. I'm very happy to be able to present to you today videos related to the most important planetary combinations that you need to know, astrologically speaking. These videos were created by an Asheville Vedic Astrology apprenticeship student, one of her final projects. And what Anna has done is she's taken the Avashtas and she has explained each combination of each Avashta for each planet. So they might not all be posted already, but please check the playlists tab for all of the videos for each of the planets so that you can learn these planetary combinations. The Avashtas are an excellent way to understand how the chart is going to give its fruits. It's also an excellent way to understand how planets are being helped or hurt. Because sometimes you can have a difficult planet which is actually being helped by its friends, and so it's still able to produce that which it's meant to produce within the chart. In the same way that many people are confused when they have an exalted planet or a planet in a trine and good dignity, and it doesn't give the results that they expect that it would. Usually it's because of the combination of the Avashtas, and maybe there are enemies of the planet hurting the planet, or the planet is in a difficult state. So this is a wonderful series of videos, and please take your time to study it. And for supplementary information on these videos, you can see the chapters in the book, The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, Volume 2. There you'll find written descriptions of these planets, and it can also give you more understanding about how to apply and see how the planets are functioning within your chart. So once again, I'm very happy to present this work of Anna, one of our really skilled astrological apprenticeship students. She's been at this for at least 4 years now, and this is one of her final projects. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this series of videos.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to this series on the Avashtas. In this video, we're going to discuss the Avashtas of Saturn, the planet of greatness. Now, Saturn is the planet of greatness, but in order to achieve that greatness, one needs to endure a lot of hardship, a lot of hard work. Saturn is about doing the dirty, hard work. It represents focus, determination, hard work, as we said, doing what needs to be done, endurance. It's also the planet of animals and nature. It's a very natural planet, and it's the planet of raw truth. Saturn has a very detached and even cold quality to it. Yeah, it's a little bit harsh as well. So let's start with Sun shaming Saturn. This happens when Saturn is with the Sun in the 5th house, or when Saturn is with the Sun and Rahu or Ketu in any house. In this case, Saturn is going to feel blamed and criticized for weaknesses by authority figures, and they will focus too much on their weaknesses. They will feel like they can't accomplish anything because of constant disrespect from those authority figures represented by the Sun. And they will think everything is a failure. Now, the Sun also represents temples or priests, and Saturn is our primal sexual nature. So the natives may have been shamed by religious leaders in a sexual way as well. But of course, we need to look at the whole chart to see this. Now, Mars shaming Saturn, and this happens when Saturn is with Mars in the 5th house, or when Saturn is with Mars and Rahu or Ketu in any house. And in this case, there will be too much focus on weaknesses, so that they don't take action to accomplish goals. Remember, Mars is taking action, and that action is not going to happen, as they will feel like they can never win. So they will fail to improve their skills, and they will just feel terrible. They will just feel like something's wrong with them. So there will be this feeling of them having to do things, needing to do more, and nothing's ever enough for them. They will feel like there's no time to rest. Mars is the planet of action, the planet of getting things done. And Saturn has a very different quality to it. Saturn is a slower planet. It does the hard work in order to achieve things, whereas Mars wants to get things done right here and right now. So it's going to push Saturn, but Saturn's always going to feel like they cannot do enough, that things are never enough, and then they will feel shame around it. They might also do things they regret, which is going to cause guilt and shame. Now, proud Saturn, Garvita Saturn, and this happens when Saturn's exalted in Libra, or when it's in its Mula Trikona sign in Aquarius, 0 to 20 degrees. So Saturn in this case is going to have great capacity to survive and do well in harsh circumstances, and they will not mind doing the hard work, which is the quality of Saturn, doing the hard work. They will do whatever it takes to achieve dreams or goals, and they will endure hardship to get there. They have great capacity to suffer for success. And we'll look at the house where this Garvita Avashta happens in order to see that. Now, the moon starving Saturn. And this takes place when Saturn's in Cancer, when Saturn is conjunct the moon, or when Saturn is aspected by the waxing moon. When it's aspected by the waning moon, it's going to be agitation. So the planets the moon aspects are planets with which our consciousness is going to identify. So in this case, the moon, our consciousness is going to identify with the suffering and the weaknesses of Saturn. So there's going to be a focus on insecurities, doubts, weaknesses, fears, suffering. And they will want others to validate that suffering. They will want to be loved for their weaknesses, but they will do nothing to improve the situation. So they will identify too much with that suffering. For natives who have this combination, it will be great to do spiritual practices that work on detachment. Now, the sun starving Saturn, and this happens when Saturn is in Leo or when Saturn is aspected by the sun. Okay, remember, when Saturn is with the sun, it's going to be agitation. So they're going to be hyper aware of one's weaknesses, and authority figures represented by the sun are also going to point out their weaknesses constantly. And people with this combination will tend to overcompensate rather than correct their weaknesses. So they can act in an arrogant and pushy way, even if they feel like they're weak and that they're not good enough. Basically, they can't bear their burdens and they will complain all the time. Or they might act in a way that they want to be the best at everything, and they will act as if they have no weaknesses, but that's not how they feel inside. So they will have no humility or detachment. Mars starving Saturn. Okay, this happens when Saturn is in Aries or Scorpio, when Saturn is with Mars, or when Saturn is aspected by Mars. And in this case, the native will feel like they can't succeed and that they are always behind, that they have little resources, and that they can't meet deadlines. So Mars is going to amplify the insecurities of Saturn. When Mars is in Aries, they will feel a lack in activities, in accomplishments. When Mars is in Scorpio, when Saturn is in Scorpio, they will feel a lack in emotional life. They will feel that they're not emotionally fulfilled. So natives with this combination will feel like there's not enough time to do what is needed. There's going to be frustration in that area. This is a bit similar to Mars shaming Saturn. But with the shame, they're going to feel even worse. Okay, in this case, they will feel frustrated that there's not enough time to do what Mars is asking them to do. Now, thirsty Saturn happens when Saturn is aspected by the Sun, the Moon, or Mars in a water sign. And it's similar to starvation, but not as difficult. Okay, our next Avashta is Mercury delighting Saturn. And this takes place when Saturn is in Gemini or Virgo, Mercury signs, or when Saturn is conjunct Mercury, or when Saturn is aspected by Mercury. So in this case, friends or community will support their weaknesses, those weaknesses which will be represented by Saturn. They will help them overcome liabilities, and they might even find a community where people have the same problems and they grow stronger from mutual support. An example for this is people who go to AA or Narcotics Anonymous, things like that, where they'll get a community that supports them with their difficulties. So the person will know their weaknesses, but they're not defined by them. And Mercury, which is also a planet of research, is going to help the person see options to overcome problems. Now, Venus is delighting the Sun in this case. So this happens when Saturn is in Taurus or Libra, when Saturn is conjunct Venus, or when Venus is aspecting Saturn. Remember that the friends of Saturn are Mercury or Venus and Venus. So they're the ones that are going to be causing delight. So in this Avashta, people will feel deserving of love even when things go wrong. They will appreciate success in life more as they succeed despite hardships. And they will have an inner sense of self-worth. They will also feel appreciated by others for their hard work. And they will have an appreciation for love. They can love who they are, and they can also love others despite setbacks. They actually understand that things are not perfect, and that things actually take hard work in order to work. So they're going to appreciate love that way. Now, Jupiter delighting Saturn. And this happens when Saturn is conjunct Jupiter. Okay, so remember, Jupiter is the planet of wisdom and faith. So there's going to be wisdom and faith in the grand design of life. So the native is going to see and understand that weaknesses and problems are only a part of life. They'll have a very intuitive understanding of gain and loss, of pain and pleasure, of the ups and downs in life. Okay, then we've got Sun agitating Saturn, and this happens when Saturn is conjunct the Sun. Okay, in this case, the person could become aggressive, defensive. There might be a false pride to stop others from seeing their inner lack of self-worth. Okay, so the main problem here is Saturn having lack of self-worth. So this can be a difficult Avashta, as these people could be could have this sense that they're not being too authentic. It's hard for them to be real. They might pretend that they're really capable when really they feel like they're not. So they can act like they can handle tough situations well. but deep inside they feel like they cannot do it, and they feel like it's a weakness for them. So there's going to be this sort of false pride. They're going to be defensive as well. And when people ask them to do something, they might be defensive. They might get a little bit aggressive because they don't feel like they're worth doing those things. So they're going to overcompensate for that lack of self-worth. Now, the waning moon agitating Saturn. And this happens when Saturn is aspected by the waning moon. In this case, the waning moon is going to be an enemy and cruel. Remember, the enemies of Saturn are Sun, Moon, and Mars. So in this case, the natives can have weaknesses validated, but still feel depressed. Nothing's ever enough to make them feel good about problems. So this is going to create a bit of a difficult personality. They're going to be a little bit harsh, maybe. They might attract harsh situations, and they'll have a reason to say everything's wrong and miserable. Okay, then we've got Mars agitating Saturn, which happens when Saturn is aspected by Mars. Okay, as we said, Mars is an enemy to Saturn, and it's also a cruel planet. That's why it's agitating it. Okay, so Saturn is a planet that likes a slow pace. In this case, it's rushed by Mars, and they're going to feel like they're busy all the time. They feel like they always need to accomplish something, even if on holidays. And accomplishments are never enough for them. And then they're going to feel miserable as their expectations are too high. And they might also project these expectations on others. Mars is too impatient to be satisfied in this case, even to work through problems, or to find simple happiness, which is represented by Saturn. Okay, Saturn, remember, is a very natural and simple planet. So simple happiness is going to be delayed, and they're going to have to eventually work through those problems that are stopping them from finding fulfillment. But Mars is always going to push them away from doing that. Mars wants to fix things quickly, but Saturn is not going to allow that. Okay, now I would like to show you how to look at the Agitating Avashtas in Kala software. So I'm going to share a chart for that. Okay, and this is a random chart I've picked. So what we do is, if you've got Kala software, you get a chart and you go to screens, and from there you go to Agitating Avashtas. And a little square is gonna come up here at the bottom. And you're going to look for the one that says Shadbala. There you go, Shadbala. Okay, and what this is going to show us is, it's going to show us the raw Shadbala of the planets. Okay, so for example, the Sun has 612.2 of raw Shadbala, Moon 341.6, Mars 297, etc. Okay, you can look at the raw Shadbala here. Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. And then we're going to see the aspects from the planets. If the aspects are from a friend, we're going to see them in green. If the aspects come from an enemy, we're going to see them in red. And that is going to add Shadbala points if it comes from a friend. And it's going to deduct Shadbala points to a raw score if the aspect comes from an enemy. So for example, if we look at let's look at Mars. Okay, so the sun is a friend to Mars, and it's getting an aspect. Okay, so it's getting it's a Sagittaria Avashta, okay, because the sun is delighting Mars. So Kala has calculated that aspect, and Mars is going to receive 295.1 points of Shadbala, which will be added here. Now, if we look at the aspect of Mercury to Mars, okay, and Mercury is an enemy to Mars, so it's going to come up in red. And those 473.8 points are going to be deducted from the final score. Okay, for example, if we look at, let's look at Saturn. Saturn, so the sun is an enemy to Saturn, and in this case, it's getting an aspect from Saturn, so it's going to be starved by Saturn. Okay, so we're going to see it in red. So Saturn's raw Shadbala was 329.9. And we're going to have 245.5 points deducted from that aspect from the sun. The moon, which is an enemy to Saturn as well, is also given 222 points. Well, it's not given. We're going to deduct 222 points from Saturn's Shadbala. Mars, which is an enemy, it's also aspecting Saturn. And we're going to deduct 297 points. Then Mercury, which is a friend to Saturn, gives a lot of aspectual points. Okay, so we're going to add those Shadbala points. And then we've got a Venus, which is a friend to Saturn as well. And we're also going to add 323 points because Venus is aspecting Saturn and it's a friend. And then we'll see the final score here at the end. Okay, so that's how we look at the Agitating Avashtas on Kala. So it's all based on aspects from the planets and whether the planets are friends or enemies. If a planet is aspecting another planet and it's a friend, we're going to see it in green. If it's an enemy, it's going to be red, so it's going to deduct points from the raw Shadbala score. And the neutral ones are going to be seen as blue. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this series on the Agitating Avashtas.